Chapter 10. Arrangements for departure and stay. Lady Seraphina naturally agreed with her husband, Lord Cassion Thorne, but also sought to mollify the Grand Matron Thorne. With all that's just happened, it's only right for the Grand Matron to keep them here for a while. Otherwise it wouldn't look good. Lady Elara Thorne can stay in Riverbend Hold for some time, Lord Cassion stated. Lord Cale Thorne, however, cannot remain. The Swordfall marches cannot be left without a head. Now that Big Brother is gone, Cale is his only son. He must take charge. It seemed absurd to expect a 10-year-old boy to lead. Do those soldiers truly only recognize Cale? Lady Seraphina whispered, lowering her voice. Aren't they Sunstone Empire troops? That's what Lord Corvin Blackwood said, Lord Cassion replied. And I could feel it when I was there myself. Lord Anson Thorne's demise had been sudden, preventing his brothers from seeing him one last time. However, Lord Cassion had spent a month in the Swordfall marches. Though he had visited before, he rarely stayed so long. This time, as a direct relative of Lord Anson, he had personally witnessed the daily workings of Lord Anson's authority, and Lord Cassion was profoundly shaken. The Swordfall marches belongs to Big Brother, he declared. These words verged on treason, and Lady Seraphina's heart pounded. Even though only she and her husband were in the room, she couldn't help but glance around. Lord Cassion, too, realized his words were improper and cleared his throat. In any case, the Southwest is unstable. The Southwestern Barbarians' rebellion has only just been quelled. The Swordfall marches are critically important. Though Cale is young as Big Brother's son, his presence can stabilize the populace. At the very least, those businesses require the head of the household to be present. Lady Seraphina immediately perked up. Lord Anson Thorne rarely came home, sending only funds for the Grand Matron's upkeep each year. No one, not even his sons or their wives, knew the exact sum of these funds, which the Grand Matron controlled. However, judging by the expansion of the Thorne family manor and the Grand Matron's generous support for the children, their living expenses and education, one could surmise the amount was substantial. They had always believed that Lord Anson Thorne, holding great power, had amassed wealth through benefits and illicit gains. A court official was not permitted to conduct business, and Lord Anson had never asked his brothers to assist in managing any industries in the Swordfall marches. The family had only managed their inherited businesses in Riverbend Hold. It was only after the Thorne brothers personally visited the Swordfall marches this time that they discovered Lord Anson Thorne not only held the power of a military governor but also commanded vast wealth from gold and salt mines, as well as a large network of merchant caravans. The money sent back to the Thorne family to honor the Grand Matron was but a drop in the ocean. Lord Anson Thorne was gone, but his wealth remained. It belonged to his son, and thus to the Thorne family. Such a crucial matter could not be dismissed simply because it concerned a child. Lady Seraphina nodded. I will persuade Mother. Lord Cassion wasn't particularly concerned. Lord Cale absolutely could not leave the Swordfall marches. Stabilizing the people and the family's assets was necessary. More critically, there was the matter that Lord Corvin Blackwood had proposed. If it succeeded, the Thorne family's position in the Swordfall marches could remain secure. Lord Cassion took a deep breath, a tingling sensation spreading up his spine. It was for the Thorne family, and even for him, Lord Cassion. Let's rest, he said. Now that Big Brother was gone, their second branch of the family, and indeed the entire Thorne family, would be in their hands. This was a heavy burden. Lady Seraphina, reinvigorated, attended to Lord Cassion as he settled down for the night. Lord Cale Thorne's arrival brought peace to the entire Thorne family, and the atmosphere in the manor became notably calmer. Cale spent the day by the Grand Matron's side, basking in her affection. In the evening, he returned to Lady Elara Thorne's courtyard, carrying the food the Grand Matron had sent. Eat well and take care of yourself. Don't worry about anything else. This is your home, and you have grandmother and your uncles here, she had instructed Cale to relay. You can do as you please. Lady Elara had not seen the Grand Matron since her return, and the Grand Matron, having waited all day, eventually had to leave. The Grand Matron doted on all her grandchildren, and her grandsons, granddaughters and great-granddaughters were all very close to her, except for Lady Elara. After Lady Elara returned home, she wasn't disrespectful as some might have imagined. She followed the routines of paying respects morning and evening with her cousins, but she rarely spoke or joined in their games. She also didn't act playfully in front of the Grand Matron, which inevitably created a sense of distance. It was a distance that made her seem less like family and more like a guest. However, no one criticized her. Criticism would have been useless anyway. What if Lady Elara became displeased, packed her things and simply left? While other girls found it difficult even to go out shopping, much less run away from home, Lady Elara could do so easily. She had money and people. She could leave whenever she pleased. And even if Lord Anson Thorne had known, he would never have blamed her, only expressed displeasure toward the Thorne family. The Grand Matron had long known her son's temperament. Attempts to bind him with rules and filial piety were futile. A daughter raised by such a son would naturally be the same. So she let her be. Mistress Glynis placed the food on the table and stood guard outside the door. Inside the room, the siblings sat opposite each other, eating. Lady Elara still had her head and face covered, with only a small gap around her mouth for eating. Under the lamplight, she looked somewhat frightening. Lord Cale, of course, wasn't afraid. He saw his sister just as he always had. "Sister, should I listen to grandmother and the uncles?" Lord Cale asked. It was his sister who had told him to become closer to the family today. Lady Elara shook her head. "Be close to them, but don't listen to their instructions." Closeness and obedience were two different matters. This wasn't difficult for the 10-year-old Lord Cale to grasp. "I understand. I'll continue to listen to Lord Galen." This arrangement had been made by Lord Anson Thorne on his deathbed. He had entrusted his 2 children to Lord Galen and instructed Lady Elara and Cale to obey Lord Galen. Previously, Lady Elara hadn't thought much of it, but now she understood clearly. Lord Anson Thorne trusted Lord Galen, not the Thorne family members, even though one was a servant and the others were blood relatives. Lady Elara gripped her chopsticks. She should trust her father, yet she felt a pang of uncertainty. Her marriage to House Blackwood in Valoria had also been her father's arrangement, yet both she and her brother had died at their hands. Her father had misjudged House Blackwood. What about Lord Galen? She couldn't determine if he was truly trustworthy, as he had died too soon. Or perhaps that was precisely why he had died early. Lord Galen's death had been too sudden, too unexpected. Lady Elara straightened in her seat and called for Mistress Glynis. Mistress Glynis immediately pushed the door open and entered. "Go fetch Lord Galen," Lady Elara commanded. Although the inner and outer courtyards were separate, Mistress Glynis faced no obstruction, and Lord Galen was quickly brought over. Mistress Glynis stopped Lord Galen at the steps and was about to go in for permission when Lady Elara's voice came from inside, bidding Lord Galen to enter. This was the first person Lady Elara had seen apart from Lord Cale. However, to be precise, Lord Galen was Lady Elara's own person. The Thorne family members were the outsiders. Mistress Glynis assented and pushed open the door. Lord Galen walked in and looked at Lady Elara seated at the table. He showed no panic or sadness, simply lowered his head and calmly awaited her instructions. "My little treasure must return to the Swordfall marches immediately," Lady Elara said. Lord Cale looked a little surprised. He had thought that by instructing him to get close to the Thorne family today, his sister meant for him to stay at Riverbend Hold longer. Lord Galen's expression remained utterly calm. Just as he had anticipated, the young lady's mind was clear and steady, unlike the widespread rumors within the Thorne family today that Lady Elara had run back in fright because she was timid and didn't want to go to Valoria. The rumors were fueled by Lord Cale's tears before the Grand Matron, and the Grand Matron's subsequent furious scolding of her 3 sons, demanding that both children stay at home. "He can leave tomorrow," Lord Galen responded. Lady Elara looked at him. "Do you have anyone among your subordinates who can effectively control the Swordfall marches?" Lord Galen looked up, his expression showing a flicker of surprise. "If you don't return, can you ensure the Swordfall marches remain under our control?" Lady Elara pressed.